This afternoon on the marketplace, Ghana Mine Workers Union calls for full-scale investigation into spate of fatalities at mining sites, as it loses 3 of its members. Will be joined by the General Secretary of the union. Also in the bulletin, we will have a discussion on a global computer pandemic called Ransomware, with $20 billion spent each and every year by businesses to fight this computer virus. We zero in on the state of Ghana's cyberspace. Plus, Ministry of Food and Agriculture urges Agric Development Bank to accelerate disbursement of funds meant for agric purposes under the Ghana Cares program. Hello once again, my name is Charles Aite. Let's take a short break. Be right back with all the details. Hello and welcome. Now, the Ministry of Food and Agriculture is urging the Agricultural Development Bank to accelerate the disbursement of funds meant for agricultural purposes under the Ghana Cares program. According to the Acting Chief Director, Robert Akumbia, 20 million cedis has been allocated to the livestock sector in the agric value chain. Hence, accelerating disbursement process will bring hope to the sector. He was speaking at the 3rd Livestock, Poultry and Fisheries Training and Trade Show. We have more in this report.
The Ministry of Food and Agriculture has urged the Agricultural Development Bank to accelerate the disbursement of funds meant for agricultural purposes under the Ghana Cares program. Acting Chief Director at the Ministry, Robert Ankobia, made the call while speaking at the 3rd Livestock, Poultry and Fisheries Training and Trade Show.
CARES program, or what they call the Obatampa program, which is designed, to bring about some stabilization in the economy and also, revitalize enterprises. And the agricultural sector happens to be one of the few productive sectors that has been selected to benefit from this facility. And for agriculture, we presented our program, our priorities, and I'm glad to report that the animal sector, featured, and an amount of 20 million Ghana cedis has been allocated. There is hope. I would only like to appeal to ADB to fast-track their disbursement. I know that as a financial institution, the risk element is something that you're always looking at.
General Manager for Agribusiness at ADB, Kwame Esiedu Atrams, revealed that the bank has rolled out 500 million cedis to revive the livestock subsector. He reassured ADB's commitment to supporting the agricultural sector.
There are different kinds of financing for different levels of production and companies. And therefore, it is very helpful to know what you qualify for, because the dynamics for accessing each of these are different. One of the things we were primarily concerned about being risk from floods, pest disease, and so on, are now also being underwritten by the agricultural insurance pool, which is GAEB. We remain committed to stepping up our support to the industry as the leading bank supporting agriculture in Ghana, and encourage many others, especially the banks, to do so.
Chief of Party for the Ghana Poultry Project, Karien Deboa, called on commercial and development stakeholders to invest in agriculture to ensure food security in the country.
Participating and investing is key to further unlock the potential of the LIF and similar end market platforms to ensure that a thriving agriculture sector on a sustainable basis in Ghana. We call upon all commercial and development actors and stakeholders banks, foreign missions, sector firms and individuals to prioritize food security by investing to build sustainable and inclusive market systems for agriculture in Ghana.
AgriHouse Foundation organized the third Livestock, Poultry and Fisheries Training and Trade Show. The training and trade show was created to close the gap that existed between the livestock and crop sectors in the Ghanaian agricultural industry.
You're still watching The Marketplace. Now, the coronavirus pandemic left the world of work exposed to opportunities of cutting down costs and improving efficiency through remote work and improved digitalization. But with this opportunity comes a grave risk. It's got to do with the cybersecurity matters across the globe. Yeah, so we know that about COVID-19, its, attendant opportunities. But of course, the virus called ransomware continues to be a computer virus attacking data and literally collapsing the efficiency of organizations. Here are figures from the cybersecurity consulting firm Innovari, which shows us that a ransomware attack happens every 14 seconds, of course. And moving on, it helps us understand the fact that up to 85% of attacks are directed at Windows users. Interesting. The third one is that the cost of ransomware attacks is estimated at $20 billion each and every year. As at 2020, that was the peak of COVID-19. We shall be bringing you the financial costs regarding ransomware attacks. Of course, if we could put that one up as well for our listeners and viewers to have an appreciation of that. You can see that on your screen, how huge an impact this is in terms of the financial cost. In 2020 alone, we're talking $20 billion. 2019, $11.5 billion. And in 2018, $8 billion. That's, a one-ton leap as the years pan by. Let's put this all in perspective as we are joined in studio by CEO of Innovari, C.K. Bruce, who is also a certified Chief Information Securities Officer. Mr. Bruce, we're grateful that you joined us. I mean, these are startling information that we're getting regarding ransomware. But help me understand, so what was the case with Ghana?
Well, it's happening in Ghana. I mean, there have been a lot of cases in Ghana. I don't have the actual statistics, but it is happening. I mean, ransomware is a global issue, okay? And the perpetrators really don't have an ability to discriminate. So we are part of the global village, and we are getting it like mad.
But with that comes the issue of preparedness, because we have seen the global figures, and as you rightly stated, it's happening everywhere. South Africa is, I did speak in the whole of Africa. When it comes to preparedness, do you think that our infrastructure base in terms of cybersecurity is so much, heavy a tool to protect businesses against ransomware?
You see, this is a viral problem. It's a malware, okay? So it's specific to organizations. Organizations would have to have the right controls, measures in place.
Do you think they do?
They don't. A lot of them don't. I mean, simple things like ensuring you're using updated software, okay? Don't use obsolete software. Having patch management. These are basics. Unfortunately, if you don't do them, you're opening yourself up to infections.
But of course, speaking of these organizations, paint to us the picture. An organization gets hit by this particular virus, and what happens?
Well, the virus comes in and encrypts, i.e. locks up your data, so you don't have access to your data. Practically, you are struck down. Now, they would contact you, or sometimes there's a file within it which will give you the details as to how to contact the perpetrator. And then you basically contact them. They will tell you how much you need to pay for the encryption key to unlock your data, and then that's it. But the advice is not to pay. That is the advice, because if we pay, then we are actually encouraging this practice.
So then how do they get themselves out of it then? Because as the term goes, it's a ransomware, how the ransom.
So organizations have to be prepared. One of the key things that you need to do is to have proper backup of your data, so that if it happens, you just restore from your backup. The other things that I mentioned, patching your software, not using obsolete software, having an antivirus. Those are protective measures that you need to have in place. But from an information security perspective, we always want to prepare for any eventualities. So you need to put in your mind that it will happen to you. So that backup of your data is critical. I cannot overemphasize how important that backup is.
But even as we have in this discussion, yes, you have stated the fact that organizations are much more prone to this development, but it begs the question of some legislations to make it much more compulsory for these guys to be whipped in line, because most of them, as you stated, have no idea that these threats exist.
Yeah, I mean, you're so right. Unfortunately, organizations seem to wait for regulation or legislation to force them to put their house in place. And that's very, very true. I mean, for example, the banking industry, Bank of Ghana, put in a directive in 2018 requiring the whole industry to implement certain measures. We will expect that other industries would do that. It is difficult to put this in legislation. So it has to be industry specific for the proper controls, proper directives from the regulator to push their respective industries to put their house in order.
Somewhere in the figures, we got to appreciate the fact that those who often bend over to Windows software and the infrastructure are much more exposed to most of these ransomware. If you could expatiate that for us, especially when we know that Windows is a very huge market as compared to the iPhone.
Well, yeah, I mean, you would understand that the malware writers want to do maximum damage. Okay, so Windows is perhaps the most used, so that environment is well known, and the vast majority of organizations are in the Windows environment. So unfortunately, yes, you are hit, but I mean, I really need to emphasize the use of outdated. So if you are using Windows and you are up to date, okay, all your patches are there, okay, you are using the various latest. You've enabled automatic updates so that it's always up to date. We've encountered organizations that are using 2016, 2013 versions, no updates since then. I mean, you are sitting duck.
Let's now raise the various the causes to issues regarding ransomware. If our guys behind could help us with that particular one. It also lays bare issues that you rightly stated, that of spam, phishing emails. 67% of the causes, lack of cybersecurity training, which is so much interesting. But what about the matter regarding poor user practices and gullibility, which even forms 25%? If you could help us, expatiate on this particular issue, because even as the world, advances, COVID-19, people are working remotely. This issue about getting to know the information security space is so lean.
Yeah. You see, these courses are actually what we call vectors. These are the things that enables the virus to enter into your environment. The bottom line is trying to get something for nothing. That is where the phishing emails come in. And the perpetrator is just hoping that you will click on one of these emails, these various links, some of the unscrupulous websites and things like that. That is where the gullibility comes in. Okay, I think it was last week, there was this message on WhatsApp saying that Toyota is giving free.
Exactly.
I mean, that is the typical vector for ransomware. Typical. Okay.
All right, so let's now talk solutions. Vari, that's the main reason why you guys are in, to help streamline this whole industry and make sure that it's much more safer. When we're talking of solutions, what practical steps do you think can be taken on the organizational and national level to ensure that Ghana is not all that exposed to this virus?
Yeah, believe it or not, this is not a technology issue. It's a social issue. It's a people issue. Okay, the technology is there. It is us that we misuse it. Okay, now the thing that needs to be done is to put proper management processes. I mean, for example, you are getting software. Have you enabled a maintenance contract to ensure that everything is up to date? You have your antivirus. Has it? I mean, is it up to date? You have your backups. Are you backing up every single day properly? Okay, so these are all management practice, best practice activities, controls that you need to do.
And what's at the national level?
From a national level, awareness is what we need. Okay, at the end of the day, you know, from a protective perspective, there's very little that government can do, okay? Because it can't block the internet or block the airways or filter. No, right. I mean, that's not practical. Okay. At the end of the day, what government can do is put in the regulations, right. put in repercussions for lack of compliance to regulations. Ensure that, perhaps awareness. Okay. Awareness is the most critical.
Awareness. Yes. We're so grateful that you joined us. And of course, it's been helping us understand the threats involved with ransomware and how prepared we are, the practical steps we must take to arrest the situation in the future. Well, away from that, Ghana Miners Workers Union is calling for a full-scale tripartite investigation into the frequent occurrences of mine accidents as a more sustainable panacea. It is also urging the Ministry of Land and Natural Resources and by extension the Minerals Commission and its Inspectorate Division to, as a matter of urgency, conduct a thorough investigation into the recent underground accident that saw 3 of its valued members working in the same area got trapped, out of which 2 managed to escape and 1 still missing since Tuesday, the 18th of May. This was contained in a statement issued by the union. And of course, here's some infographics we put up on the union's demands. Of course, they're calling that a notorious trend of 9 accidents and incidents with its consequential fatalities happening in some of the underground operations, particularly Anglo Ashanti Obuasi Mine and its surrogate underground mining alliance that has claimed 3 precious lives since June 2020 are becoming a blot on the enviable record chalked by Ghana, especially after the structural adjustment program in the 80s. And of course, the Ghana Mine Workers Union will not countenance any more of these avoidable deaths, they say, and shall therefore not hesitate to withdraw their services if urgent and robust steps are not taken to eliminate and prevent these needless accidents from becoming a recurrent feature at the workplace. And the very third point that we could bring to your notice is that the Ghana Mine Workers Union is therefore not only calling for a full-scale tripartite investigation into the frequent occurrence of mine accidents as a more sustainable panacea, they are also urging the Ministry of Land and Natural Resources and by extension the Minerals Commission and its Inspectorate Division to, as a matter of urgency, conduct a thorough investigation into the recent underground accidents that saw 3 of the valued members working in the same area got trapped, out of which 2 managed to escape and 1 still missing since Tuesday, the 18th of May. And, well, it goes on. The fact that the very 4th pointer, the union has also renewed its call and advocacy on the need for governments to prioritize the ratification of the ILO Convention 176, which borders on safety and health in the Mines Convention, in order to further tighten and align the industry's health and safety regulatory framework to globally acceptable standards. Thankfully, we're joined via Zoom by the General Secretary of the Ghana Mine Workers Union, Abdul Mumim Bana. We're so grateful that you joined us. Despite the tight regulation in terms of occupational health and safety standards and best practices, the sector is still bedeviled with a spate of accidents at the site. What could be accounting for this? If you could kindly hear me, despite the tight regulation in terms of occupational health and safety standards, as well as the best practices, your sector is still bedeviled with a spate of accidents at the site. Well, what do you think could be accounting for this?
All right. So good afternoon and good afternoon to your listeners and those who may be viewing us. I think that apart from regulations that are currently in place, the penchant for, a certain lack of attentiveness to the workplace situation is what brings to fore the need for us to drum up this very important, concern about the need to strengthen health and safety rules and regulations at the workplace. I also think that, look, in terms of the operations or mining operations, surface mining has predominantly been one that we have been operating for close to a decade now. And so we are relatively more familiar with, surface mines. But underground mines, where you have a lot of hazards, workers are exposed to a lot of underground hazards, falling rocks. The environment itself looks a bit dark when you are working underground. There's a possibility of a cave-in whilst you walk underground, because you are one level connecting the other. We are calling for a special attention when it comes to underground operations, and so that the frequent supervision by the Inspectorate of Mines and to ensure that employers are complying with what is required of them under the law. Workers are equally complying with what is required of them under the law. It's extremely crucial. It's also important that health and safety becomes a culture. It must be embedded in the DNA of workers and all the actors at the workplace. It does appear that even though you have quite a number of laws in place, you have regulation in place, it doesn't appear that compliance is what we are seeing, and we need to try and heighten that a bit more.
Help us understand in terms of an update on the 3 precious lives claimed since June 2020.
Well, like our statement rightly indicates, right from June 2020 up until date, we have lost 3 precious lives. Quite recently is the one that happened on Tuesday, the 18th of May. Very regrettable by all standards. This is not something we ever anticipated. You got 3 workers of Underground Mining Alliance, which is actually a surrogate or a substitute of Anglo Gold Ashanti that mines for Anglo. You have 3 of their employees and our members, for that matter, having the unfortunate situation where you had a roof caving down. The floor on which they were standing caving in. Unfortunately, 2 were able to escape. The one that was trapped up until date, from Tuesday the 18th up until date, we haven't been able to establish his whereabouts. And this is a very worrying situation. You cannot wake up in the morning and say goodbye to your family with the intention, with the hope that you will get back home, body, soul, and spirit, only for you not to return to your loved ones. And this is a major, major worry for the union, and for that matter, it's important that particular attention is paid to this matter. We are calling for a tripartite conversation on this matter. Not just a tripartite conversation, but a conversation that is targeted at strengthening legislation. With the current legislation that we have in the system, you would often hear, if it is not safe, we will not mine. But the reality on the ground is actually not exactly what it is. And what we are saying is that it's important that you put some power in the hands of workers, because Convention 176, which is on occupational health and safety in the mines, actually seeks to involve the worker, who is crucially at the center of health and safety. All right. In terms of contribution, in terms of his general contribution to policy and procedure at the workplace. Because there are times that a supervisor or a manager would instruct you to go perform one task or the other. But just because the employee feels so gullible under the circumstance, and even in the particular case of Underground Mining Alliance. These are fixed-term contract workers.
Well,
and
I believe that you have threatened to withdraw your services if urgent and robust steps are not taken to prevent these accidents. Who is to blame for this? And if you could help me once again, what has been the correspondence with Anglo Gold Ashanti? What has been the correspondence, and what exactly are they telling you?
Well, who is to blame? Certainly, it is the company on whose premises our member got locked up in this unfortunate situation. And squarely, we put that at the doorstep of Anglo Gold Ashanti. And that is why we're saying that in terms of accountability, ultimate responsibility and accountability lies directly on the doorsteps of Anglo Gold Ashanti. They may be mining with a surrogate company by name Underground Mining Alliance, but ultimate responsibility is theirs. And so, as far as we are concerned, it's important that jointly we take the needed steps to deal with this matter head-on, so that we do not see the recurrence of any such unfortunate incidents or accidents on the mine. In respect of what Anglo Gold has been telling us, it is, I mean, I'm aware they sent out a release updating the public about where they are gotten to in respect of the matter. Indeed, right from 18th May up until date, the rescue team has been underground, trying everything possible to establish the whereabouts of this colleague. As far as we are concerned, we think that for about 7 days now since the gentleman got missing, having been able to establish his whereabouts, one can conclude that the gentleman may have passed on, regrettably. Right. And that is why it's extremely important that going forward, we remain very attentive to issues of health and safety, not just in Anglo Gold Ashanti, but across the entire mining industry. Right. But mining dominantly a very hazardous, environment, and employees are naturally predisposed to a lot of at the workplace.
And we shall keep an eye on this developing story to give viewers updates as and when we do get them. Abdul Mumin Agbana, General Secretary of the Ghana Mine Workers Union. We're so grateful that you joined us with your thoughts and as well your analysis on this development. Grateful once again for joining me as well on the marketplace. My name is Charles Aite. For more news, do log on to myjoyonline.com. Many thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of our programs.